I assume you've seen it by now. It's been like 25 years, okay? If you haven't seen it, I'm not giving a spoiler alert. I'm sorry, you should have seen it by now. Welcome back to Josh's Cemetery Chats. How y'all doing out there? I hope you're having a great day. So today we are talking about movies with twist endings. We wanted to do kind of a fun video and talk about some different things, some stories and stuff like that we've seen with twist endings that really kind of blew us away the first time we saw them, and maybe blew you away the first time you saw them. But we are sitting here with we got Fred finally back. He's chilling in the background. He was back in the last video as well. He's just not happy. It's going to take some time for him, I think, to warm back up to us, but we'll see. We'll see how things go. But yeah, so movies with twist endings. You know those movies where you get to the end of the movie and all of a sudden something happens and just like throws the whole thing out of whack, and you're like, what was that? So that's the kind of movies that we're talking about today. And the first one that I wanted to bring up, mostly because I'm going to forget the name of it if I don't, because the name wasn't the memorable part, but it's called The Visit. And the purpose of the movie is these kids are going to their grandparents' house. It's the first time that they've seen their grandparents in forever. And apparently the mother and her parents were estranged, so the kids didn't really get to see the grandparents that much. But the grandparents were like, hey, send them up to visit, we really want to see them. So the mother reluctantly sends the kids to visit her parents. And so the entire movie is weird, right? These old people, they're acting all crazy. The grandmother's the battiest, but then, you know, the grandpa's kind of acting weird too, and the kids are starting to like wonder what's going on. Throughout the movie, the girl is filming, like she wants to do like a documentary type of thing where she's filming, talking about her grandparents and everything, and she's documenting all of this weird stuff that's happening. And they get to the end of the movie, and the big twist is that it was never their grandparents to begin with. And it's great how they play it off throughout the entire movie, as the grandparents never show up on any, like the kids video chat with their mom, and the grandparents aren't in the room, or they're on the opposite side or whatever, so they never see each other. And the kids don't know that it's not their grandparents because they haven't seen them. So you get to the end, find out that it wasn't their parents in the first place, or it wasn't their grandparents in the first place. You find out that it was these people that escaped from this like asylum, killed the old people that were living in the house, hid their bodies, and then passed themselves off as grandparents. And they did this because one of the actual grandparents worked at this asylum and had mentioned, I think it was the grandmother that worked there, and had mentioned her grandkids coming to visit, and they wanted to have grandkids. So they took the place of these people.
I think it was the kids that found one of their grandparents dead.
I think they did. It was in the chute in the basement or something.
Right.
But there was a twist ending, and I couldn't even remember the name of it. I just had to look it up because I couldn't even remember the name of it. But the ending itself was the twist that made the entire movie memorable to me. So, what's your first movie that you got?
I'd say The Mist. These people gather in this, was it a station? I can't remember.
Grocery store.
Was it a grocery store? I can't remember if it was a gas station or a grocery store. They all gather there and they hear things on the outside trying to get in. And then as they're trying to figure things out, a couple of them actually leave. And by the time, I can't remember. I'm sorry. They're in the convenience store and things are trying to get in.
Yeah, you got the mist outside.
Right.
The mist rolls in off of the lake and takes over the whole area.
A couple people leave and there's only enough bullets to shoot everybody but one person.
Right.
And the guy shoots everybody, and then as he does that, the military come in and the mist starts to go away. Yeah, and if he just would have waited,
they would have waited 2 minutes more.
I can't remember the whole thing. But that's what got me, was when he shot everybody.
It was a Stephen King story.
Right.
The movie's based off of the short Stephen King story. And
well, you probably remember more than I do. That's just the part the twist
right.
is what I remember more than anything else.
Yes, you remember the twist ending, because the entire movie, if you haven't seen it before, is this fog mist starts rolling in and it takes over this whole town. People are trapped, like you said, in the grocery store, and things just kind of keep escalating. And there's like this one lady in there that's like super religious, and so you start these two sides. Like one side saying that it's the apocalypse, the end of times, God's coming back, whatever. And then the other side that's like, no, this is an emergency, we need to find a way out. And the group that wants to find a way out finally leaves, and it's the guy, his kid, his girlfriend, or she's kind of his girlfriend, kind of a couple older people. But they have 5 people and they have 4 bullets. And he volunteers to take and shoot the rest of them so they don't have to be eaten by these monsters. They don't have to suffer, right? And that's what you were talking about, the twist, where he gets out of the car, he's screaming to monsters, come and get me, come and get me. And the mist starts to clear away. The military rolls through, but it's not just the military, it's the truck with all of the other people that stayed in the store, including the hyper-religious lady who's just looking at him like, yeah, well, that's right, I told you, type of thing. And it's funny because I didn't realize it till I rewatched it after I'd seen The Walking Dead. But if you've seen The Walking Dead, Carol on The Walking Dead, the actress who plays her, Melissa McBride, is the super religious lady. So it's such a weird circumstance to see that, but also like if you think of how Carol is in The Walking Dead, how she's conniving and stuff, and then you think about like this lady, the way she looks at him at the end is like, you know, she was planning some shit. Like this is.
But the plot was the best part for me of the movie.
Yeah, the plot twist at the end was that's what made it. And the sad part is that's not how the book ended. The short story ended a lot differently. So that is just crazy. The fact that they chose to do that, and it made it much more memorable than the ending of the short story was. So that was actually a really good one.
I know. I just wish I would have remembered more. I just like the plot twist the best.
That was the most important part in the entire thing. So my next one is going to be kind of controversial, but I have my reasons. So the next one that I have is the movie The Village.
Oh my God.
And I mentioned this in a podcast recently. I was talking about the Village and the ending to it. And the thing about it is the twist ending at the end of The Village is that it's modern times. The entire movie, you spend thinking that they're like in the 1800s or something, and it turns out it's the modern era. And they've just built this village up, and they've kind of made this whole thing. And the thing about it is the ending, the twist at the end is actually brilliant. It's just poorly executed. So you get to the end of the movie, and realistically, there's so many questions at the end. Like the main girl that's kind of getting out. And I think they kind of allude to the fact that these people have grown up. So you have a few elders that have been there the entire time. And they really know what's going on. But then you have these kids that like have grown up and have become adults. I don't remember if it even actually says directly that most of the people don't know what's going on. But this girl doesn't. And she's the one that escapes. And she finds out that the monsters are really the village elders that are dressing up like monsters to keep everybody kind of corralled in the middle and out of the forest line. And then she gets to the edge of the area, climbs over this wall, and there's a modern day police cruiser shows up. And it's like, oh God. I think it could have been done much better as far as twist endings go. It was a great twist. I enjoyed the fact that it was there. I just didn't think that the movie overall was great, and I think that they could have executed it much better and left the clues, because that's the biggest thing with twist endings is one of two ways. You either want clues building up so that when you see the twist, you're like, oh, everything makes sense, or like in The Mist, you want a twist ending that's just so screwed up that like nobody could have foreseen, not even the characters, and then it's like, what just happened? Like that's always, you want one of those two reactions. With The Village, it was just kind of like they didn't drop any clues. I mean, they dropped a few, but like nothing really obvious throughout the story. You would think there would have been something else. I would have preferred to be able to go back. The next movie that I have, we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's a perfect example of being able to go back and look over things. But what's your next one before we get onto that?
I don't really. I have one, but it's kind of goofy. I was a scary movie.
The
first one. Well, I was really young when I seen that, so as it starts, it says how Sydney's mom was killed, and then as it progressed throughout the movie, it all comes back to Sydney in the end, because it's people who know her that.
Because I think the twist at the end of Scary Movie was basically that the killer wasn't the guy you expected it to be.
Right.
Because it was a completely different person. This guy acts all nice and everything throughout the whole movie.
But it's all people that know her.
Right, but it was like, the first movie is the one where the twist really applies. Because the other movies
it's
all
her boyfriend.
Right, but the other movies all have the same type of twist.
Right.
They're basically just taking the twist and redoing it over and over. And it's a trope it's making fun of the trope in horror movies. But the first one, yeah, the ending, it turns out it was the guy that you least expected was the actual murderer. And that's what makes it a twist ending. That's what made it memorable to you.
Yes. You're good at these more than I am.
I've been doing it a long time.
I know, but I get stuck in what I want to say, and it doesn't come out.
Yeah, you'll get better.
It's embarrassing, though.
So moving on, my next movie is The Sixth Sense. And it's another M. Night Shyamalan movie, but he's good with twists. The ending of The Sixth Sense, I assume you've seen it by now. It's been like 25 years, okay? If you haven't seen it, I'm not giving a spoiler alert. I'm sorry, you should have seen it by now. Bruce Willis is dead at the end of The Sixth Sense, all right? Go through the whole movie and you're like, what's going on here? This doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, you just gave it away.
But it turns out that he's dead. And the brilliant part of the whole thing is, unlike The Village, where there's not really a lot of like things throughout that you can go back, if you go back and rewatch The Sixth Sense after you've seen it and you know the ending, and you pay close attention, you can see all the little things that happen, and you can tell the fact that, like, okay, he was dead the whole time. So that, to me, is what makes The Sixth Sense one of the best movies of all time as far as plot twist, because you don't see it the first time through, and then when you go back and rewatch it, you actually can tell. Like, it makes a lot more sense when you go back and watch it. And now the sun's starting to come up.
I was going to say, my face.
You're probably getting washed out. Do you have any other movies that you want to talk about?
No.
Okay, so we want to know down in the comments below, before the sun gets up too high, what is your favorite twist ending on a movie? Is there one that really stuck out to you, one that you loved and that you'll never forget? What was the ending, and what do you think of twist endings in general? So let us know that down in the comments below, as well as if you have any topics that you'd like to see us cover in future videos. But I think before I get blinded completely, I'm going to thank you all for watching. We want to thank you all for watching. I need to get better at that. And yeah, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next one.